The President of the United States, for some reason, decided today to focus on a major American city to insult, denigrate, and disparage. He took to Twitter, of course, and started in on the city of Baltimore, calling it filthy and dangerous, running down the entire 7th District of Maryland and the long-serving congressman who represents it. This from the president today in a tirade against Democratic Congressman Elijah Cummings, ripping his district as, quote, a disgusting rat and rodent-infested mess. If he spent more time in Baltimore, he writes, maybe he could help clean up this very dangerous and filthy place. The president went on to say no human being would want to live there. Congressman Cummings, in response, writing directly to the president, quote, I go home to my district daily. Each morning I wake up and I go and fight for my neighbors. It is my constitutional duty to conduct oversight of the executive branch, but it is my moral duty to fight for my constituents. People who know Cummings, people who hail from and love the city of Baltimore, rallying in support today. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi tweeted this: Representative Cummings is a champion in the Congress and the country for civil rights and economic justice, a beloved leader in Baltimore and deeply valued colleague. We all reject racist attacks against him and support his steadfast leadership. We go straight to the White House now, and CNN correspondent Boris Sanchez. Boris, any clue from the White House since this morning as to why the president chose to insult the city of Baltimore with such venom?
Well, Anna, it appears to be a combination of things. The president apparently unhappy over the way that Representative Cummings grilled DHS officials over the issue of immigration during congressional testimony earlier this week. And we should point out, just about in the hour before the president sent out these tweets, there was a segment on Fox News about West Baltimore in which a Fox News commentator questioned conditions in Congressman Cummings' district, comparing them unfavorably to conditions at the southern border. Aside from questions about race baiting or decorum, we have to point out the president's tweets are simply misinformed. The district that Cummings represents is actually one of the most well-educated and most affluent, predominantly African-American districts in the country. Here's the mayor of Baltimore, Jack Young, sharing how he feels about the president's attacks.
I guess everybody in the 7th District will be insulted, including me. I mean, you drive through the 7th Congressional District, see all the developments we had done, and we're still working to rebuild some of the areas that need the help the most. So for him to say that was an insult to me as a resident who lived in the 7th Congressional District. It was a total insult.
There's some people said it's better just to ignore this.
We're not going to ignore anyone degrading Baltimore City and its elected leadership. No one.
Right. Even if it feeds fuel to the fire and makes it.
I don't consider it fueling the fire. I look at it as defending Baltimore City, the city where I live.
President Trump, as we've come to expect at this point, digging in further. He sent this tweet out not long ago. The president writing, quote, Elijah Cummings spends all of his time trying to hurt innocent people through oversight. He does nothing for his very poor, very dangerous, and very badly run district. Take a look. And then he hashtags it Blacks for Trump 2020. The president in campaign mode there. He may need some help trying to court the African-American vote, though, Anna, remember, he only got 8% of it back in 2016.
All right, Boris Sanchez at the White House. Thank you. Many people who call Baltimore home are understandably shocked and appalled at the president's choice of words to describe a major American city. One of those people is my colleague right here at CNN, Victor Blackwell, and I could never tell you how hurtful, how tasteless, or how wrong the president's attack is, as well as Victor did earlier today.
This morning, the president attacked another member of Congress on Twitter. This time, it's House Oversight Committee Chairman Elijah Cummings. He wrote this: Cummings' district is a disgusting, rat and rodent-infested mess. If he spent more time in Baltimore, maybe he could help clean up this very dangerous and filthy place. No human being would want to live there. Infested. That's usually reserved for references to rodents and insects, but we've seen the president invoke infestation to criticize lawmakers before. You see a pattern here? Just 2 weeks ago, President Trump attacked 4 minority congresswomen. Why don't they go back to the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Reminder, 3 of them were born here. All of them are American. Infested, he says. A week before his inauguration, January 2017, Congressman John Lewis should spend more time on fixing and helping his district, which is in horrible shape and falling apart, not to mention crime infested. Donald Trump has tweeted more than 43,000 times. He's insulted thousands of people, many different types of people. But when he tweets about infestation, it's about black and brown people. September 2014, at the height of an urgent health emergency. Why are we sending thousands of ill-trained soldiers into Ebola-infested areas of Africa? Bring the plague to the U.S.? Obama is so stupid. Infested, he says. There's a revolution going on in California. So many sanctuary areas want out of this ridiculous crime-infested and breeding concept. Infested, he says. The president says about Congressman Cummings' district, that no human would want to live there. You know who did, Mr. President? I did. From the day I was brought home from the hospital to the day I left for college. And a lot of people I care about still do. There are challenges, no doubt. But people are proud of their community. I don't want to sound self-righteous, but people get up and go to work there. They care for their families there. They love their children who pledge allegiance to the flag, just like people who live in districts of congressmen who support you, sir. They are Americans too. We'll be right back.
Nick Mosby is a Democratic Maryland delegate. His district covers parts of Baltimore, and he's a former city councilman there. Thanks so much for being with me, Nick. The White House sits less than 50 miles from Congressman Cummings' Baltimore office. If President Trump came to that district, what would he see?
Well, I mean, I think it's really interesting, again, our president not knowing anything that he's talking about. The 7th District constitutes much more than just the part of West Baltimore that he's trying to reference. It's one of the wealthiest areas in this entire country in certain parts, and one of the most educated areas in this entire country in certain parts. And Congressman Cummings has done an absolutely amazing job. If President Trump ever decided to step foot in any part of West Baltimore, he would see hard-working Americans who wake up every single day, who try to prepare their kids to become the best Americans, who go to work, who own small businesses, who are the bedrock of what we see in communities all throughout this country. And for him to try to disparage and insult overwhelmingly majority part of the state of Maryland and city of Baltimore is just completely unacceptable. And that's why I think you saw many folks in Baltimore City speak out against President Trump earlier today.
Speaker Pelosi calls the president's comments racist. What would you call them?
Racist. I mean, I think that, since he's taken office, either he's teetered the line of being racist or he has been racist. I mean, you look in the past 2 weeks, he's told women of Congress, colored women of Congress, to go back to where they're from if they didn't want to be here. He's, constantly doubled down on policy that's stripping away family members in our immigrant population. And today, to call out a major American city, I mean, the birthplace of the Star-Spangled Banner, with the type of derogatory terms and the type of hatred out of the Oval Office is just completely unacceptable.
The top Republican in your state, Governor Larry Hogan, condemned the president's tweets against the Congresswoman of color earlier this month. He called them terrible, very unbecoming of a president. We've not been able to reach Hogan today for comment. Have you heard anything from any of your Republican members there in Maryland criticizing these latest comments?
I have not, but I think that this is a true opportunity for folks to collectively come together and put partisanship aside and say what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And for a person who's taken the oath of protecting and serving Americans, who's supposed to be moving our country in a new direction as he continues to tout, to have hatred and to have derogatory terms in the way that he's used them, it's just completely unconscionable. So, I know that there have been folks in the state of Maryland that have asked our governor to denounce this, but this is an opportunity for us to collectively come together and say, this is just unacceptable. I mean, the world is watching.
Are you surprised the governor hasn't just spoken out on this yet?
I'm surprised everyone hasn't spoken out yet about this. I mean, as soon as you hear the words coming out his mouth of comparing a major American city, talking about rats, rodents, and infestation, talking about folks need to leave the city and no one should be there, and all the hatred that he spilled out in Twitter like he normally does, I'm surprised that just at a quick glance, any third grader reading that would know that that's inappropriate for somebody who's supposed to be sitting in the title of leader.